Judge mocks teenager in court, shocked to learn he's a genius attorney in disguise. The courtroom was unusually full for a Tuesday morning. Reporters scribbled on notepads, family members whispered nervously, and the low hum of murmurs filled the air until the bailiff's voice rang out. "All rise! The court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Harrison presiding." Everyone stood. Judge Harrison, a stern man in his 60s with a salt and pepper beard, entered and settled into his chair. He had a reputation: tough, no nonsense, with little patience for nonsense. Few dared test his temper, but this morning, something unusual caught his eye. At the defense table sat a teenager. Not a man in a suit, not a gray-haired attorney with years of experience, just a 17-year-old boy in sneakers, a hoodie, and jeans. His hair was a little messy, his backpack sat on the floor, and he seemed more like someone waiting for a bus than someone about to argue in court. Judge Harrison squinted, adjusting his glasses. "Young man, do you know where you are? This is a court of law, not a high school cafeteria." A ripple of laughter ran through the courtroom. The boy didn't flinch. He stood, cleared his throat, and spoke with calm determination. "Yes, Your Honor, I know exactly where I am, and I'm ready to proceed." The judge leaned back, almost amused. "Ready to proceed? Son, this isn't a debate club. Who are you, supposed to be?" "My name is Alex Carter," the boy replied, his voice steady. "And today I'm representing the defendant." A collective gasp traveled across the room. Even the defendant, a middle-aged mechanic named Mark Dawson, turned to look at him in shock. The prosecutor, Ms. Lopez, smirked. "Your Honor, surely this is a mistake. The defense can't possibly be left in the hands of a child." The gallery laughed again. Some even whispered cruel things. "Is this some kind of prank? Maybe he's here for extra credit." Judge Harrison banged his gavel. "Order! I'll get to the bottom of this." He turned to Alex. "Mr. Carter, how old are you?" 17. 17, the judge repeated slowly, shaking his head. "You're not even legally an adult. How could you possibly think you can represent someone in a court of law?" Alex picked up a black leather briefcase from under the table and placed it gently on top. With a click, he opened it and slid out a thick folder of documents. "With respect, Your Honor," he said calmly, "I've been granted special permission by the State Bar Association under their Exceptional Prodigy Program. My credentials and authorization are right here." He handed over a letter sealed with an official stamp. The judge skimmed the document, his eyes narrowing as he realized it was real. Still, he wasn't convinced. "You may have papers, but that doesn't make you a lawyer." "Maybe not," Alex said with a small smile, "but it does make me an attorney in this courtroom today." The room fell silent. Before the trial had even begun, Alex's story was already extraordinary. Born to a single mother who worked 2 jobs, Alex had grown up in a tiny apartment filled with books instead of luxuries. By age 9, he was devouring volumes of law, fascinated by courtroom battles he saw on TV. While other kids played video games, Alex memorized constitutional amendments and landmark cases. By 15, he was already tutoring law students at a nearby college. Professors who met him described him as a mind 20 years ahead of his time. His reputation spread so far that eventually the State Bar created a special mentorship for him, one that allowed him to appear in court under supervision. And now, at 17, he was about to argue his first case. The defendant, Mark Dawson, was accused of burglary, a crime he swore he hadn't committed. The police claimed they had found stolen items in his workshop, but Alex believed otherwise. He rose and addressed the court. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I'd like to file a motion to dismiss based on unlawful search and seizure. The evidence against my client was obtained without a valid warrant." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You're saying the police acted illegally?" "Yes, Your Honor." The officers entered Mr. Dawson's workshop without probable cause and without his consent. Under Map v. Ohio, 1961, evidence obtained through an unlawful search is inadmissible. The prosecutor laughed. Your Honor, are we really going to entertain this? He's quoting cases like he's reading from Wikipedia. Alex didn't flinch. He handed the judge a meticulously prepared brief, citing not just Map v. Ohio, but multiple precedents from both state and federal courts. Judge Harrison flipped through the papers, his frown deepening. The citations were accurate. The arguments were sharp. Ms. Lopez, the judge said slowly, do you have a counter-argument? The prosecutor hesitated. She hadn't expected such precision from a teenager. Your Honor, the officers had reason to believe. No, Alex interrupted, his voice clear but respectful. They didn't. And their own report admits as much. Page 3, paragraph 2. They entered without a warrant and without consent. The courtroom gasped again. Reporters scribbled furiously. The judge read the report aloud. Alex was right. The first time, Judge Harrison looked truly rattled. He had mocked this boy minutes ago, but now he was watching him dismantle a prosecutor's argument with surgical precision. Motion granted, the judge finally said. The illegally obtained evidence is inadmissible. The gallery erupted in whispers. Alex nodded politely, then turned to his client. We're not finished yet. Without the stolen items as evidence, the prosecutor tried to rely on witness testimony. A neighbor had claimed to see Mark near the scene of the crime. The neighbor, a nervous man named Carl, took the stand. Mr. Dawson was there, Carl said shakily. I saw him. He was wearing a brown jacket and... Alex stood. Permission to cross-examine, Your Honor? The judge nodded. Alex approached the witness with calm confidence. Mr. Carl, you say you saw my client near the scene at 10 p.m.? Yes. And you were how far away? About 50 yards? In the dark? Well, there was a street light. Alex flipped open a photo. This is the location at night. There is no street light within 100 yards. Are you saying you have night vision? The witness stammered. I could have been mistaken. Alex leaned closer. You were, because at that time Mr. Dawson was on a video call with his daughter, a call we have time-stamped and recorded. He placed the evidence on the judge's bench. The courtroom gasped once again. The witness shrank in his chair. Piece by piece, Alex dismantled the prosecution's case. What had looked like a straightforward conviction was unraveling. The jury watched in awe. Even the judge, though he tried to keep a stern face, couldn't hide his amazement. During recess, whispers filled the halls. Reporters rushed to call. Their editors. Headlines were already forming. Teen genius shocks courtroom, 17-year-old Outsmarts prosecutor, judge mocked teen attorney, then he changed everything. By the time closing arguments arrived, the prosecutor looked defeated. Alex stood tall, his voice carrying through the silent room. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case isn't about age. It isn't about appearances. It's about truth and justice. The prosecution built their case on shaky ground. Illegal evidence, unreliable witnesses, and assumptions. My client, Mark Dawson, is an innocent man. The law exists to protect the innocent, not to punish them unjustly. Today, you have the power to ensure justice is done. His words were steady, passionate, and wise beyond his years. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. When they returned, the foreman spoke clearly. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. The courtroom erupted. Mark Dawson hugged Alex, tears streaming down his face. You saved my life, he whispered. Reporters crowded the aisle. Cameras flashed. Judge Harrison raised his gavel, trying to restore order. Then he looked at Alex with something new in his eyes. Respect. Mr. Carter, he said slowly. "I owe you an apology. When you walked in, I underestimated you. I mocked you. But today, you reminded us all that justice doesn't care about age, only about truth. You have a rare gift. Use it well." Alex nodded humbly. "Thank you, Your Honor." That night, the story spread across every news channel and social media feed. A teenager had walked into a courtroom, been mocked by a judge, laughed at by a gallery, dismissed by a prosecutor, and walked out victorious. But for Alex, it wasn't about fame. It was about proving that no matter who you are or how young you might be, you can fight for justice if you have the courage to stand your ground. As he packed up his briefcase and walked into the cool night air, he smiled.